and one night we heard most heavy, painful sounds of men carrying a burden down the garden. We looked out of the window. There was nothing whatever to see. Then the sounds became closer and more distinct, and there was definitely a suggestion of people digging. Heavy thumps and thuds. And I'm pretty certain the monks must have been reenacting a burial.
And the chanting, did you hear the chanting?
Oh, yes, indeed I did. It was way back in December 1959, just before Christmas. I'd been working very late on a manuscript, and about midnight I threw the windows open to try and get rid of some of the smoke in the room. And I heard what was quite definitely chanting. It was coming in uneven waves off the hill opposite the house, rather as if I'd been listening to a radio that was badly tuned in. Well, it didn't seem quite credible, so I switched my own radio on and fiddled around with it for ages, trying to find some station that was putting out a Latin service. Yeah. I found nothing. Yeah. But I heard afterwards that someone in the village had just died and was to be buried the next day.
Well, the monks were faithful to their accustomed ministry.
That they were. Next day, I ran into Mrs. Day, and she told me she'd been out that very night and had heard the same chanting out in the road. You should have a word with her.
I remember walking home late one evening. It was very late. I just locked off the domus. We'd had a late dance. And I heard chanting in the distance. And it gradually seemed to get a little louder. And it was more like a sort of murmuring, which seemed to come from the bottom part of this lane here, oddly enough, where we are now, and as if it was coming from the abbey there.
Oh, yeah.
It was a wonderful feeling of peace. It seemed to take away all my tiredness after a long day.
How I wish I could hear it. I wonder if I should have the ears to hear.
You may not. Maybe tonight. You'll have to wait till around midnight.
Never mind. We will keep tryst.
After much discussion with the witnesses, we decided upon a vantage point in the center of the cloisters, which more than once had reverberated with the sound of ghostly chanting. As we sat there silently, waiting for the hour to strike, our minds were as one, alert, expectant, hopeful, yet leavened by thoughts traversing centuries, back to the time when men worked and worshipped on this very ground. They say the voices of the monks of Beaulieu Abbey are still raised in glorious song that time cannot silence. As I sat there, thinking of these things, these immortal words of Lord Byron echoed in my mind.
I merely mean to say what Johnson said, that in the course of some 6,000 years, all nations have believed that from the dead a visitant at intervals appears. And what is strangest upon this strange head is that whatever bar the reason rears against this belief, there's something stronger still in its behalf. Let those deny who will. I, for one, choose to believe it.